Could Caleb John Gosche, a character from the quirky world of Brooklyn Nine-Nine, be one of the most unforgettable characters in TV history? In Jericho's Supermax prison, Jake Peralta finds himself sharing a cell with Caleb John Gosche during the early episodes of Season 5 of Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Now you might wonder, who is Caleb? Well, he is serving 3 life sentences for cannibalism. Caleb has been behind bars for 15 years. For the first time, Caleb describes himself to Jake not by his crimes, but as a passionate woodworker. When the alarm interrupted Jake and Amy's conversation, Caleb mentioned how his family hasn't visited him since his trial. He joked, "You eat 9 people and suddenly they don't know who you are anymore." Jake, hoping for a different kind of cellmate, initially thought Caleb might be another cop wrongly convicted, but Caleb quickly set the record straight. He indeed committed the crimes and even hinted that there were more they couldn't trace back to him. His chilling advice: eating the evidence keeps it hidden. Despite the grim revelations, Caleb's practical side emerges when he suggests Jake could communicate with the outside world via a smuggled cell phone. Caleb knows a guy named Romero in general population who can smuggle in anything: phones, drugs, and even a bag of hair. Wait, okay, that's for Caleb only. As they approach Romero, Caleb suddenly feels uneasy due to their proximity to another inmate. Jake tries to reassure him, asserting that not everyone in prison is out to get them. Then Romero appears, known for smuggling anything into the prison. Romero casually asks if they need another bag of hair. Caleb seems interested, but Jake immediately shuts down the idea. As Romero walks away, Caleb tells him they'll discuss the usual order later. Jake Peralta is caught off guard by Caleb, forcing him to quickly hide his phone as the warden strides up to them with a find that could spell trouble holding up some items he found during a sweep. Caleb tries to play it cool, claiming they got them at the commissary, but the warden isn't fooled. He knows the items are picante beef, a flavor not available through prison channels, indicating they are contraband. Frustrated with their rule breaking, especially since he had placed them in protective custody as a kind gesture, the warden decided it was time for a harsher punishment. He declared that they needed to pack their bags because they were going to general population. Even in such a dire circumstances, Jake, always the joker, pleaded for more time to toughen up, humorously requesting 6 or 7 more years to grow a tough prison beard. As they began moving their boxes to general population, Jake couldn't help but express his disbelief at their new reality. He lamented that a cop and a cannibal were heading to a general population, clearly worried about the danger they would face. Caleb, however, appeared less concerned, which prompted Jake to remind him of his formidable past, hoping maybe Caleb could protect them. But Caleb's response was less than reassuring. He chillingly admitted to the ease with which he had committed his crimes, describing his victims as weak little children. Jake Peralta and his cellmate Caleb continue to navigate the everyday oddities of prison life with their unique brand of humor. As they sit for a meal, Caleb, ever the character, whimsically muses about missing creamed turkey, but then quickly shifts to craving a chicken burrito, throwing in a darkly humorous comment about his cousin's taste. Later, Jake hatches a plan to provoke the officer Wilson, hoping to capture an angry outburst on video. He confidently approaches Wilson, attempting to engage him, but it quickly escalates when Wilson, with little patience, ends the interaction with a swift punch. Surprisingly, all it took was a slight provocation for Wilson to react violently. Caleb, tasked with recording the encounter, unfortunately botches the job. He films himself the entire time, having accidentally used the front camera. His excuse: his technological skills haven't exactly kept up with the time, given his long stay in prison. Undeterred, Jake instructs Caleb on switching the camera, and they try again. This time, Jake's approach to Wilson results in yet another swift beating, with Jake quipping about the pain being less about the physical hurt and more about the systematic issues in the prison system. Caleb, trying to get it right, manages to switch the camera direction, but adds a festive filter to the recording, further complicating their attempts to document the incident seriously. Finally, when they think they've succeeded, the warden suddenly appears, seizing the moment and the phone. Jake Peralta, always the cop at heart, faces a daunting dilemma involving Romero, a fellow inmate. His options: either become a snitch by pressing Romero to divulge the location of the drug, or stay silent and let the warden falsely label him as one, both leading to potentially deadly consequences. Jake shares his predicament with Caleb, who lightens the mood with his dark humor, reminding Jake he had once eaten 9.5 people. When Jake outlines the grim scenarios, Caleb responds with a quirky suggestion from his past life. When cornered, he'd cross the country, forge a new identity, and, believe it or not, take a job as a camp counselor. Despite Caleb's checkered history, this sparks an idea in Jake: why not stick to what he does best, investigating like a true cop, without relying on Romero's confessions. thus keeping his cover intact. As they strategize, Caleb mentions his knack for threading the needle, a skill he morbidly relates to his past as a cannibal, which he mentioned a bit too casually for Jake's comfort. Jake, trying to maintain some normalcy, urges Caleb to keep those details to himself, especially if they're to continue their unlikely friendship. Their conversation shifts gear as they move about the prison. Caleb draws an unsettling parallel between his cannibalistic tendencies and police work. Both involve a lot of watching and waiting. Jake, horrified yet amused, can't help but ponder the irony of his current alliance. Suddenly, their light-hearted banter is cut short when Romero, another inmate, approaches them visibly upset. Romero accuses someone of informing the warden about the stash of contraband soap. In a twist of events, Jake steps up, confessing to the deed. The situation escalates quickly. Romero, known for his violent reactions, threatens Jake, but Caleb boldly declares that anyone wanting to harm Jake would have to go through him first. His declaration of friendship is tested instantly as Romero stabs him. Caleb's response, a comment about being poked in the stomach. Then Romero wants Jake to sleep with an eye open. Jake Peralta finds himself about to be released. The warden informs him that his squad has successfully busted Melanie Hawkins, paving the way for his freedom. Excited but with one last task, Jake requests to do something before he leaves. Heading to the hospital wing, Jake sought out Caleb, his unlikely ally from his time behind bars. He approached Caleb, who was recovering from injuries sustained while heroically saving Jake during a prison altercation. Feeling a mix of gratitude and disbelief, Jake expressed his thanks to Caleb for his bizarre yet life-saving actions, telling him that he wanted to say goodbye and couldn't believe Caleb had saved his life. Caleb responded with his usual dark humor, saying that he would not do it again because it had really hurt. Jake attempted to create a heartfelt moment, but Caleb jokingly admitted he regretted his actions. As Jake reached out for a handshake to bid farewell, Caleb, unable to resist his cannibalistic impulses, playfully tried to bite Jake's hand. Jake Peralta decided that to catch a serial killer, he needed to delve into a criminal mind. Who better to help him than his old cellmate Caleb, a man with a past dark enough to provide the necessary insight. So off they went to the prison where Caleb had been transferred. Upon arrival, Caleb greeted them with a mix of humor and warning about his cannibalistic tendencies, lightening the mood by joking about not being able to hug due to his impulses. During their reunion, Caleb caught up on his life outside, showing genuine interest in Jake's updates about Amy's promotion and their marriage. Conversation then shifted to the normalcy of prison life. Charles, Jake's best friend, also tagged along, humorously downplaying his significance with Caleb. Unimpressed, pointed out his life sentence. Jake then steered the conversation to their current dilemma, tracking a serial killer targeting young men. Caleb's reaction was typical, a mix of gruesome curiosity and dark humor about dietary preferences, which strangely led to the potential lead. Caleb admitted to frequenting a disturbing forum and offered to help Jake access it, hinting at a peculiar new member who might be their suspect. Back at the crime scene, the investigation hit a wall, but a revisit to Caleb turned the case on its head. Caleb's offhand comments about the killer's methods and tools used, specifically a sternal retractor, typically found only in hospitals, sparked a revelation. Suddenly the pieces began to fit together. The meticulous incisions and missing hearts weren't the work of a typical serial killer, but someone stealing organs, possibly for transplants. What do you think makes Caleb such a standout character in the series? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into the most memorable moments, don't forget to like, share and subscribe for more.